Hi, my name is Daniel. I am a 27-year-old programmer living in a small apartment on the outskirts of Chicago. I've always told myself I am a rational person. I like facts, code, and things that can be explained. But this experience, it changed everything. I'm writing this now because I need to tell someone, maybe for a channel like Mr. Nightmare, so that others don't make my mistake. This happened 2 years ago, and to this day, I still can't sleep soundly without thinking about that box. At the time, I was under immense stress with my freelance work, projects piling up, bills accumulating, and I desperately needed a distraction. I'd heard from online friends about the deep web, not with malicious intent, but just out of curiosity. "Try Tor, man, there's another world down there," they'd said. I downloaded the browser that very night, around 1 a.m., with a black coffee beside me. At first, it was all pretty normal. Anonymous discussion forums, hidden wikis about conspiracy theories, amusing, but not really scary. Then, I found a thread on one of the Onion forums titled "Strangest Auctions You've Ever Seen." People were talking about all sorts of things, from stolen weapons to bizarre artifacts. What piqued my interest was a link with no description, just a random string of characters. Out of boredom, I clicked it, thinking, why not? The page loaded incredibly slowly. Tor connections are always sluggish. Finally, it appeared. A black background, faded gray text, a simple title, "The Offering." In the center, there was a small image of an old wooden box, intricately carved with strange symbols, maybe ancient runes or something. Below it, a countdown timer, 004523, and a place bid button. I zoomed in on the image. The box looked ancient, its surface cracked, and it exuded an aura of, well, it was both inviting and menacing. The description was just a single line. "What you seek, it can provide, at a cost." I chuckled to myself. A mystical auction on the deep web? It sounded like a cheap horror movie plot. But the countdown was running, and the bid chat beside the screen was buzzing. Bids were climbing, reaching thousands of dollars in crypto. I didn't have any Bitcoin, so I just watched. I thought, what on earth are they auctioning? A ghost? A secret? The countdown hit 0. The screen flickered, and a message appeared. "Highest bidder selected. Object will be delivered." I closed the tab, shut down my laptop, and went to bed. The next morning, I completely forgot about the site. Until midday, when there was a knock at my door. It was a regular delivery guy, but the package was odd. A plain cardboard box, no sender label, just my address. I opened it on my kitchen counter. My heart stopped. Inside was the exact wooden box from the website. The same carvings, the same damp, musty smell of ancient wood. I hadn't ordered anything. I hadn't even bid. Panicked, I checked my Tor history. The link was gone. The forum thread was a 404 error. I tried searching for The Offering on Google, Reddit, everywhere. No trace. The box was heavy, solid, with no visible locks or hinges. I shook it. It felt empty inside. That night, I put it on my bookshelf, trying to forget about it. But at 3 a.m., I woke up to a faint scraping sound from the living room. I turned on the light. The box was still on the shelf, but the carvings looked slightly different, as if they had shifted. In the following days, things started to get strange. My laptop turned itself on while I was showering, displaying the box again on the screen, with a new countdown, 24 hours. I force shut it down, but the next day, as I was coding a stressful project, an email from a client suddenly popped up. Project approved, 20% pay increase. Coincidence? Maybe. But the carvings on the box had changed. Now there was a symbol like a stack of coins. I thought, this can't be happening. Then problems arose. I had a big argument with my neighbor about parking. I was furious. That night, I heard a faint whisper from the box, unclear, like the wind, but it seemed to say, calm. The next morning, that neighbor suddenly moved out, claiming family matters. I checked local news, nothing. But the box's carvings now resembled a closed door, and I felt a chill in the room, even with the AC off. I started to get scared. Every desire I had, a promotion, a new girlfriend, seemed to be fulfilled, but at a cost. A new girlfriend? Yes, I met her on a dating app, but she asked strange questions about my magic box, as if she knew. And the whispers at night became clearer. What else do you desire? I tried to burn the box in my backyard. It didn't burn, it just smelled stronger. I scanned the carvings with an app. They were a mix of ancient Latin and something resembling a QR code, but unreadable. The peak was last week. I was thinking about my massive student loan debt, wishing it would just disappear. The next morning, a letter from the bank. Debt paid off. Anonymous donation. Happy? Yes, but the box, its carvings now formed my own face, eyes wide open, and underneath it, a small inscription that appeared suddenly. Payment due. Since then, I feel watched. Shadows in the mirror sometimes shift, like a third person is there. I moved apartments, leaving the box in the old one, but yesterday, while unpacking, the box was in my bag. I couldn't have brought it. I don't know what this box is, a real artifact or something living on the deep web that chose me because I watched its auction. What I do know is what I sought, it provided. But the cost? I'm afraid I'll pay with my life. If you're reading this, don't click strange links on Tor. My curiosity cost me too much. I'm Daniel, and that box is still waiting for my next wish.
My name is Sarah, and I'm a pretty hardcore gamer. I love challenges, especially indie horror games that not many people know about. About 3 years ago, I was searching for the craziest indie horror games on the internet. Most normal games had started feeling boring to me. That's when I ended up on the deep web. It wasn't with bad intentions, but because I'd heard rumors about games that were dumped from the regular internet or too extreme to be released publicly, they often ended up there. My friend Ben, who knew more about the deep web, initially forbade me, but I insisted. In the end, he just told me the basics of using Tor and said, never click anything that's too good or too bad to be true. I thought, okay, what's the worst that could happen? I spent several nights exploring gaming forums on the deep web. Most were just scams or viruses, but I started noticing a pattern. Several threads kept mentioning Project Echo. It was supposedly an unreleased game made by a genius but insane developer who vanished after releasing its only build on the deep web. The game allegedly had no ending, just one endless loop, and its goal wasn't to win, but to understand. Of course, I was hooked. I managed to find a download link leading to a .zip file about 500 megabytes in size. I scanned it with the most advanced antivirus, Clean. Okay, this is probably just a niche indie game, I thought. I extracted the file, and a folder named Echo appeared. Inside, there was only one .exe file, no icon, nothing. I clicked it. My computer screen went completely black. Then a simple logo appeared, Echo. The background music was very minimal, just a low drone that felt cold and oppressive. This wasn't a game with fantastic graphics. It was a very dark 3D environment with a first-person camera. No HUD, no inventory, no objectives. I could only move forward, backward, left, right. I was in a dark corridor, the walls made of cracked concrete. Occasionally, a red light flickered, illuminating faint chalk marks on the walls that I couldn't make out. The atmosphere was eerily silent, only my footsteps echoing. I tried shouting in the game, no effect. I ran, no sound of breathing. I was alone in endless darkness. I played the game for hours. The corridor branched, there were empty rooms, some with visual glitches that made me dizzy. No enemies, no puzzles. I started feeling frustrated. This is just a walking simulator in a corridor, I thought. But then I found something. In one room, there was an old CRT monitor turned on, displaying a series of changing numbers and symbols. I approached, and one of the symbols suddenly stopped and blanked. It was the same symbol I'd seen in one of the deep web threads about Project Echo, a circle with 3 crossed lines inside. I felt weird, like there was a deeper Easter egg. I kept exploring.
The game felt incredibly long. I started feeling tired, my eyes sore. I decided to quit. I pressed Alt F4, no response. I tried Control Alt Del, couldn't open Task Manager. The game refused to close. I panicked. This wasn't a normal game. I finally forced shut down my computer. As the computer turned off, on the screen that had just displayed the game, I saw something. A shadow. Just a glimpse, very quick. The shadow was like a tall, skinny figure standing behind my chair. My heart pounded. I looked back. No one there. I told myself it was just a hallucination from staring at the screen too long. The next day, I tried to delete the echo file, but I couldn't. The file wasn't in the folder where I'd extracted it. I searched my entire computer. Nothing. As if the game had never existed or had deleted itself. I felt relieved, but also uneasy. However, that wasn't the end. A few nights later, while I was playing another game, my computer suddenly froze. Then the screen went completely black, and that logo appeared again. Echo. The cold drone music returned. I hadn't clicked anything. The game called back. This time, I wasn't in the concrete corridor. I was in a room. My bedroom, my computer desk, everything identical. But everything was dark, with visual distortions everywhere. The camera slowly panned, and I looked toward the corner of the room. In the corner of the room stood that tall, skinny figure. Not a shadow this time. This was an entity. Its eyes were empty, its mouth stretched in an unnatural grin. The figure slowly began to move, pointing toward my computer screen, which in the game also displayed the Echo game. Panicking, I unplugged all the computer cables. This time, I did it quickly. I didn't wait. I even ended up throwing away my old hard drive and buying a new one. I didn't want any trace of that game on my computer anymore. Since then, I've never explored the deep web again. Every time I sit in front of my computer, I feel on edge. Sometimes, when I'm alone in my room, I feel a sudden chill. And in the corner of my eye, I sometimes see a shadow. That tall, skinny figure, grinning. I know it was just a game, but that game knows who I am. That game knows where I am. And that game calls back. I don't know what would happen if I let it run to the end, but I'll never find out. This is my story. I hope it serves as a warning to anyone tempted to search for games or content extremes on the deep web. Some things should remain hidden.
Hi, my name is Mike, or at least that's what I remember. I'm 32 years old, working as a freelance investigative journalist in New York. I've always told myself I'm not afraid of anything. I've covered corruption cases, major hacks, even extremist communities. But this deep web experience, it's made me doubt who I really am. I'm writing this from an anonymous account, maybe for a channel like Mr. Nightmare, so others don't fall into the same trap. This happened 6 months ago, and since then, my life has been like an endless nightmare. I was working on an article about digital identity, how people can disappear on the internet, or even create fake identities that feel too real. My main sources were regular forums like Reddit, but I knew that wasn't deep enough. An old friend, a former ethical hacker, gave me a tip. Try the deep web. There's a forum called The Void there. People share insane stories about losing their identities. I downloaded Tor, set up a separate VM for security, and dove in. At first, everything seemed safe. Threads on privacy, anonymity tips, whistleblower tales. Then, I found the Void forum, a .onion link hidden behind layers of encryption. The forum's title was simple: Where do you go when you're lost? The design was minimalist, a faded gray background like old paper, and the first rule: no real names, no photos, just stories. I registered with the username ShadowWriter, no email verification or anything. I jumped straight into the main thread. Hundreds of posts about people disappearing from the real world after posting on the forum. Some stories were funny, like folks completely changing careers, but others weird. One user said, "After posting my story, my friends don't recognize me anymore. It's like my face changed in their memories." I was intrigued. For research, I posted a fictional story. I disappeared from my old job after leaking company secrets. Now my boss acts like he never knew me. I added fake details, but based on a real case I knew. The post got replies immediately, dozens of users saying, "Welcome to the void. Your story is safe here." There was one private reply from a user named Echo Void. "Good. Now upload proof. This forum helps you disappear for real." I figured it was spam, but my journalistic curiosity won out. I uploaded a plain text file, a full story with proof of a blurred, edited face photo. Instantly, a notification popped up. "Verification accepted. Your identity is now part of the void." I closed the tab, thinking I'd gotten enough for the article. The next morning, I checked my work email. Nothing unusual. But when I called my editor, his voice sounded off. "Who is this? We don't have a Mike on our contributor list." I repeated my full name, sent my CV via email. His response? "Sorry, no record. Wrong number, maybe." A small panic set in, but I chalked it up to a glitch. I checked LinkedIn. My profile was still there, but 0 views, and connections were saying, "Who is this Mike?" I called my close friend Alex. "Dude, do you remember me? We met last week." He paused for a long time. Then, "Sorry, who? Whose number is this?" My heart sank. I rushed back to the Void forum. My post was gone. The thread was empty. Just a new message from Echo Void. "Disappearance initiated. Want to continue? Post deeper." I tried to log out, but the Shadow Writer account didn't exist. The forum loaded normally, but every thread now showed my own stories, details I'd never written. One thread, "Mike, disappeared from New York, 2024. Proof, family photo, old address." That photo was real from my phone. I hadn't uploaded it. I shut down the VM, restarted my computer. No trace of Tor. But when I left my apartment, the neighbor who usually greeted me looked at me like a stranger. "Excuse me? I don't know you." That night, I didn't sleep. I checked my wallet. My ID was still there. But when I showed it to the mirror, the face in the photo looked different, faded like a blurry filter. I called the police, saying my identity was stolen. They checked the database. No Mike with that name in this city. Fake ID, maybe. I showed my passport. They said it was a crappy photocopy. I went back to the deep web on a new device. The Void forum appeared again, this time with a welcome message. "Mike, you're already lost. Post your final story to return." I posted in panic. "This isn't funny. Stop it." Instant replies from other users. "Welcome. You're one of us now. Your old identity is safe in the void." Since then, things got worse. The bank called. Unknown account. Family on the phone. "Who is this? Don't call again." I moved to a quiet, paid in cash, but the receptionist said, "You look like yesterday's guest, but different name." Every night, my phone vibrates on its own. Notifications from an app I didn't install. Void update. 80% disappeared. I investigated myself, searched for the Void forum deep web, but results were 0. Like the forum erased its tracks from the regular internet. I tried contacting my hacker friend. He blocked my number, saying, "Don't contact me, you're not real." The peak was yesterday. I saw a local news story about a man without identity arrested in NYC. A blurry photo, but the eyes and smile looked like mine. I ran. Now I'm writing this from an internet cafe in another town using a fake name. I don't know what that forum is. An AI hacking memories? Or a community that truly erases identities, both digital and real? What I do know is one post in the void made me vanish from the world. I'm Mike, or Shadow Writer, or whoever I am now. If you're reading this,
Don't sign up for weird forums on the deep web. Your identity isn't worth the curiosity. I hope this story reaches Mr. Nightmare. Maybe he can spread it so I can return before I'm completely gone.